G'day friends, welcome to day 14 of Mermay 2024. 2 weeks in, we're 2 weeks in. Are you still going? Did you even start? Is this something you're doing at all? I'm actually up to day 26. I was going to say if you were following along. You were following along, but I'm only giving you day by day, so why would you know that? Today, on May 14th, I'm up to day 26 in the challenge. So, I mean, I've got 26 of these filmed, so I've got 5 left to go until I've actually completed it, but the videos are daily, and I have been doing the voiceovers on each day. I actually thought I would kind of bankroll a whole bunch of them, and then backlog a whole bunch of them, and then just add them to videos as I ended up doing, but it's not the case. I guess I just wanted to chat to you daily, which is kind of interesting because it's given me an opportunity to bring you kind of into my current world each day as it happens. And even though tons isn't changing from day to day, I have had like a bit of a weird kind of like life-altering experience this past week. So this has been a really interesting time to be talking to you each day because I'm currently figuring stuff out that, you know, you might not hear about until next month or whenever I decided to make a video and talk about the thing that I thought about in May. It's also a little bit challenging because I do have this kind of guideline. I was going to say rule, but every time I think of a rule, I have to break it. So it's a guideline. It's a little parameter that I give myself, a boundary for you and for me. When I make content that I talk about personal things that are kind of in process, I usually like to bring you the story as a scar, not an open wound. So if I bring, you know, something that is open and still in process, you know, sometimes people offering advice, even though it can be well-intentioned, can kind of mess up some of the process that I go through for myself trying to figure it out. It can also be very triggering for a lot of people to be wrapped up in a conversation with things that are very difficult to talk about or really personal. And, you know, that can kind of throw people into, you know, speculation about their own experiences and, you know, kind of being amongst those feelings. And then if I don't have any kind of good resolve, if I'm not bringing, you know, the healing to it, that part of the conversation, it actually just kind of, you know, triggers you, and then it's like a hit and run. I leave. There's no resolution for you. So I feel like my own personal feelings about that is I try not to discuss things like that in general. This is not one of those things because this is not necessarily like a very like it's emotional for me, but I don't think this is something that you could possibly be triggered by in a negative way, even though it's still in process. So, because I don't even believe this to really be an open wound. I think this is a part of my healing, and I think this is interesting to talk about because I just love to talk about garbage, don't I? Before I start, let's go. Feelings are not garbage, but I'm just being funny. Day 14, the thing that really annoys me about this piece, and I've had some great days recently for the Mermay challenge, so it's irritating that I get to one that I don't really love. I think there's a lot of fun in it, and I did have a great time doing it, so I'm not going to take that away from myself. Success on that front. The tail wraps around, and the fin kind of goes over the forehead, or like over the side of the head a little bit, but because it's in the green and the blue, and it kind of just looks like I've smushed the head, like the head is kind of deformed a little bit, so that irritates me. But the way I did it and the fun that I had doing it was all worth it. So that's my kind of objective feeling about the piece. Not one of my favorites to look at, but it was probably one of my favorites to do. It was a fun experience. So I hope you enjoy watching it all come together as I chat to you about the thing that I kind of touched on yesterday, which was the thing that I touched on 2 days ago. This experience that I'm having, kind of wanting more for myself. I don't even know if wanting more is the way to put it. I am unpacking all my feelings. I'm unpacking my feelings and my thoughts, and I'm going to do a bit of that live with you today. I was in my journal here. I got a haircut. Do you like it? I was in my journal the other day, and I wrote down a bunch. Just a little passage. I'm not going to read it to you, but I wanted to just read the first line because this was the thought that I was having, and I feel like it's what I want to discuss. I'm going to let myself want for more than the scraps. This is a sentiment that I have not been unfamiliar with, and I mean, this is a hard thing to talk about, but I'm just going to say it. I'm gay, if you didn't know. I'm married to a man. We were both raised very conservative, evangelical households. And Steve and I both continue to have a faith to this present day. We have had very interesting experiences through Christianity and through church specifically. And I think you could put two and two together and figure out why it might have been difficult for both of us to experience a lot of traditional church structures. Now, without going too much into detail, and I did talk about this on Playtest Patreon 3, so some people are very familiar with the story of why neither of us attend the church that we were going to for many years. It's a very sad story. It's a very frustrating story. It was a very confusing experience. You know, I think through that, when that was all kind of evolving, I had become familiar with this idea of allowing myself to want for more than just table scraps. Do I think I deserve more than that? I don't know. That's a hard conversation to have. Like, I think we're always taught to be so humble and so thankful and so grateful. And I think those are virtuous things to be. And I do think that's real and true. You should be thankful for the things that you have, and you should be grateful for all those things. And for the most part, I'm, you know, very, very lucky to have all the things that I have. Very blessed that way. But, you know, when it came to being allowed to even be in a church, or like to be in a church community, because I was gay and because I felt like I wasn't even allowed to be there, I got so used to just taking the very bare minimum, like people just saying, everyone's welcome here. And I would just never question it beyond that. And I'd be like, so thankful that they just weren't going to kick me out. And that mindset is a very interesting thing to have for a really extended period of time, because, you know, I didn't think I could expect more than that. I didn't think that there was more than I could. I thought I was just so lucky if I went into a church, if they knew I was gay and they didn't kick me out. Like, I thought I should just be grateful for that. I should just be thankful for that. That in itself would be a huge blessing. So you can't ask for more than that. Just be grateful and move on. And in a sense, that was true for a very, very long time. And I think church, you know, everything evolves in life, and the church spaces, the spaces that we were in, and our understandings of faith were evolving as well. And, you know, we ended up in a church that knew that we were gay, that knew that Steve and I were married, and that accepted us there and let us be involved in, you know, functions of the church. And it was seemingly very welcoming and very, you know, and not seemingly, it actually was. Like, I won't take it away from them. They did actually, you know, include us and make us feel like we were welcomed. It was a very, very bizarre and frustrating to this day set of experiences that led us to leaving the church. But, you know, it's too long to really get into. But essentially, like, one of those, you know, arguments that I had with the leaders of that church was that, like, we are conditioned to just be so grateful that you would even let us in the doors, that we don't ask for anything more than that. We think that if we keep ourselves really humble and really thankful, that it will just play out the way that it needs to. But what if, like, just what if I could picture a world where I could expect more than that? Where not only could I expect that you wouldn't kick me out, but that you would welcome me, and that I would be able to receive the same amount as my heterosexual friends that are also at that church, that I would also be allowed to get married in the church that I am a part of. Because that was not the case. Steve and I could actually not get married at that church. Not that we had tried to. We didn't know that church existed when we got married. But it was one of those things where I was saying, like, you guys think that this is all just working out and you're doing the greatest things ever by just letting us sit in the pews. But realistically, that's not equality. That's not what that looks like, when there are still so many things that we should be so lucky to get that is standard for everybody else. So that was where I first kind of came in with this feeling of, like, should I allow myself to want for more than just table scraps? Should I just be thankful for it and move on? And, you know, there's a real practical side of me that just thinks my life is easier, and maybe it's a cynical and lazy side too, but my life is easier if I just accept that I get what I get, life's not fair, and move on. And I was very much taught that, and I do believe that to an extent. It's a very freeing way to live, because my expectations won't be constantly disappointed every time, you know, I don't get something that I hope I could have. But that's the thing. You still hope for it anyway. Whether you accept real life as it is, there's still these desires that you have, or these hopes that you have, that no matter how practical and logical you can be, seem to like well up inside of you. And at church, it had gotten to that point where like my hope was that it would all become equal. Like it would just be, you know, what they said it would be. They would make sure that there was no difference in treatment between, you know, turning up at the church gay or turning up at the church straight, that it would be equal. And it just wasn't the case. Factually, you know, structurally, that just wasn't what was happening. And it started to get me really frustrated. And, you know, it became a real struggle to just think, well, I should just be so happy that they let me stay. I started becoming resentful for that, actually. And that was my own cross to bear, for lack of a better term. It was something that I still think to this day I'm not really willing to do. I'm not really willing to accept the table scraps from people who were more capable than what they were showing, from people who promised more than they could deliver, and from people who actually should have known better and were just struggling with their own hypocrisy. So I can always look beyond mistakes and, you know, issues that happen, and I can look for the intention, and I can really cross-reference that with, you know, what I believe to be good and true. But if what I am seeing is just a whole bunch of, you know, fear and hypocrisy and, you know, just downright bad, wrong choices based in stupid things, like I really don't have a lot of grace for that, and I don't think I should have to. That's subjective. I struggled with a long time the idea of church, because we always had to forgive everyone for everything. Everything was forgivable, and I felt like I was stuck on a forgiveness loop with absolutely everyone and everything in my life, and I felt like I could forgive anyone for anything. And I have been in therapy for like random situations that seem so unforgivable, where I've had to figure out, like, how do I forgive that? Like, how do I move forward in life saying I forgive that? Because I don't feel that way. I don't feel like that's something I should forgive. But I end up being a very forgiving person. And I guess, you know, again, maybe just lazy, or maybe cynically, or maybe just I want an easier life, I do end up forgiving a lot and just moving forward. Don't usually forget. It's kind of impossible for me to forget. And I do have very strong and firm boundaries. I don't think I have to be everyone's best friend. So that's kind of something I learned from that too. I can forgive and move forward, but it doesn't always mean I'm going to move forward with the person I'm forgiving. They can live over there, I can live over here, and we can do separate lives. That's great too. However, dancing, my favorite topic. Dancing, since it came back into my life, has been wonderful, and I love it. And I've had my own struggles with, you know, the consistency of it since we started back in Christmas 2022. For all those years that I wanted to come back to dancing, in the earlier parts where I was auditioning and I had rehabilitated from my accident, my expectations were the same as they were before, that I would go to these auditions, I'd book them, I'd get all the jobs that I used to have, the world would still be open to me the way that it was before, and those were my expectations. And I didn't even think that was a tall order, because that was my experience before. Thought I could have it again. I'm healed, why would I not? Like physically healed. I can jump, I can kick, I can turn, I can do all the things I used to be able to do, so why not? And it just didn't work out. And then year after year after year, and then I gained more weight, I got more depressed, I got further and further away from what I feel like I wanted. And then the pandemic happened, and it became really dire straits for the hope that I had left. I had started, unknowingly to me, I literally just figured this out a couple days ago, I had started to view dance as the same problem, that I am just so desperate to do it. I want it so badly that I will accept anything. I will accept the table scraps. I will accept the crumbs on the floor of an opportunity to be able to do it. Now, that is not to say that what I am doing is table scraps, because I love it. And I'm very grateful for the opportunities that I've had My feeling about it, though, the way I was feeling about it was not, it was not with this optimism of I'm going to start this career again. Like I'm going to, you know, revive it. I'm going to jumpstart it in phase 2 and have all the incredible experiences that I was destined to have the first time, that I just knew I was going to have, because why couldn't I have them? I worked for it. I'm good at it. I should be able to do it and have it. But they didn't all work out. But you know what I mean? Like I had a great time. I got what I wanted the first round. So I thought, well, this time I should just be so thankful. I should just do anything, say yes to anything, because it was that scarcity mindset. What if I don't have anything after that? Then especially not really doing anything in 2023 for that first half of the year. I felt like now I really just need to accept anything. Like there's no leverage here. I can't even get what I didn't even know I wanted, let alone what I think I might want. I didn't even allow myself to want for more than that, because I just thought I should be so grateful if someone offers me anything. I am grateful for it. I have been grateful for it. I am so lucky, again, to have come out of that accident, keeping my leg and my foot and my life and whatever I could have lost because of it. However, just a couple days ago, and my experiences over this past week, I just feel like I'm done with that feeling. I'm done with that feeling of I should just be so humble and lucky. I want to be humble. I do. I want to have humility. I think it's a lovely thing to have as a human. I want to be grateful, and I am grateful, and I will act in gratitude and do things that grateful people do. However, I will allow myself to want for what I want, and I will not tell myself that I can't, and I will not tell myself that I'm not allowed to, or that I don't deserve to, or that I should be so lucky. No, I want what I want. The hope has come back inside of me as fervently as I had it back when I was 15, and I don't know if I can get rid of that. I think that's passion. I think that's what drives me to do those things. And, you know, certain circumstances unlock that in some people, and some people always have it, never lose it. Some people never have it. And I just don't know how any of that works. But for whatever reason, this past week and these experiences and these conversations and these, you know, connections and friends and meetings and like all these things that I have had this past week have just like let me take all of that off my chest and just allow myself to want what I want, and to be so careful that I am not, you know, just scrounging around for table scraps and calling that satiating, because it has so infected parts of my desire that I find myself discrediting or discounting my opportunity before I've even considered trying to go for that opportunity. It's like I'm telling myself, no, don't do that, because, you know, you're not good for that. Like, it's not, your time is past for that. You can't have that. And I never used to say that. I was so delusional. I would go for everything I wasn't right for, and I didn't care. Someone else had to tell me I couldn't do it, not me. I knew I could do it, but you had to tell me that I couldn't do it. And I've told myself this in the past. I've said, like, you know, I'm going to go for these opportunities and I'll let them tell me no. I'm not going to tell me no. They can tell me no. But something, you know, recently has just felt so weird and different. And I just want to see what else I can go and get. What else? And it's specifically dancing. For my art and for my journaling, I am so happy with where I'm at. I am so comfortable in my creativity. I am so happy with the routines that I have and the art that I make and the product that I deliver to customers and clients. And there's really not much I'm trying to, I had never really been in my own way when it came to my art and journaling. And maybe that's kind of the blessing of, you know, figuring it all out yourself, because I never really told me no. If I wanted to go and make stamp sets, I made them. If I wanted to go and, you know, start a new journal, I made that. No one was in charge of my journaling. It was jlbCREATIVE, so it was JLB decisions. But with dance, it's not. And so that, I think that factor kind of, you know, being out of my control has always been hard for me to process in my mind. But I am looking forward to it. I'm going to actively seek new experiences. I'm gonna say yes to things that I don't think I would typically say yes to, just because I'm excited to see if it's just something fun that I like. I mean, if it's not, guess what? Well, I did it and I didn't really like it. I just won't do it again. Even that, something had happened recently where I had considered the idea of doing something, and it's not something I'd done before, and I was like, I might be interested, but I went through my head and there was all these reasons where I was like, no, I don't know, what if I don't like that? Or like, what if that's too much? Or what if the travel to there is something that I don't even like? And I got so mad at myself for finding all these reasons why I felt like I should say no. When in reality, if all of that were true and I just didn't like it, I will have done it and I could just not do it again. I was like, that is how old me used to think. Why now do I think that way? Why am I processing information this way? Maybe I still got to figure out why I'm doing that. Or maybe I don't need to. Maybe I just need to stop doing it and then it won't matter why. But you don't know what your brain does sometimes. Sometimes your brain is working in a way that you didn't set it up to work. Your neural pathways form over time, and sometimes you accidentally, I found this through that stream of consciousness journaling, sometimes you are thinking things that you don't really even believe, and they are guiding you to make decisions that you probably shouldn't make for yourself. Our brain, as fantastic and wonderful as all of the functions of it are, it is still a mystery for most of us how it works and what it's doing when we're not telling it to do certain things. And I'm also becoming a lot more fascinated with how your brain sends signals to your body and how thoughts show up physically in your body. And like, if you can worry yourself sick, you know what I mean? Like, you can think yourself into sickness. Not that I feel sick, but I'm curious about all those things because I'm not going to try and get control over my brain. I still think I want it to be a little bit more mystical than that. But I do want to fix some of these neural pathways that I think developed over years and years and years of disappointment. And I think they might just be trying to, maybe those pathways formed because they're trying to protect me from the disappointment. Maybe they formed because I needed to feel better about certain things, or I needed to feel like things were in my control, even if they weren't. For whatever reasons, my situation has changed and I need my brain to catch up to that. And I need my brain to know that, I am almost back to where I was, when I first started dancing, and all those opportunities are available to me again. And they will be available to me again. And I can choose to go and do those. I don't need to tell myself, well, I'm so much older now, so that wouldn't make sense. Why wouldn't it make sense? Why would that not make sense? The fact that I was born in 1990, if I could kick higher now than I could 5 years ago, what does that matter? That I was born in 1990. Most of the jobs I've done, I don't have to look good. I don't have to look attractive. I could just be a human being on stage. Only a few times where my looks actually really mattered. So what does it matter if I aged? What does it matter? It really doesn't. Even when I was talking to Steve, and like I said the other day, we were both having these feelings at the same time, and we're both familiar with this feeling of wanting more than table scraps. This came up, and we had been talking about it before, earlier this year, about the idea of taking contracts and what that would look like to spend time away from each other if we did different contracts. And both of us are so sick of the feelings that we have about the thoughts that we have regarding what we should or should not be doing, when we both have these desires to go and do these fantastic and exciting things. And when we're both capable of doing them, and when we're, in our prime to go and do them, why would we say no to that? Why are we trying to stop ourselves from that? And for what? The worst thing in the world for me would be to think, and, we've kind of had part of this experience before, but to a non-degree, whatever. Forget I said that. It's a stupid, weird story, and it doesn't really make sense. But I don't want to sit here and think that Steve did not go and do something that he thought he might love to do. because it took him away for 6 months, and because I'd have to go and visit him, or we'd have to get on the phone, FaceTime each other 2 times a day. Those things can be sorted out. If he decided not to do it, just so he could be physically here in the apartment and make sure that I felt comfortable that he was here, because I don't really need that, but do you know what I mean? It would be a nice thought, sure. And you know what? Some couples need it. I don't need that. So if he were to do that for something that didn't really matter to me that much, but he thought it did, like, we needed to have those conversations so we could kind of free each other to go and do that. Because both our thoughts about marriage is that, well, now that we're married, we have to do what married people do, and they don't just leave each other for 6 months. And I was like, well, that's not true. Tons of people do. And when we were getting together, we got engaged long distance. Like, Steve and I had never lived together before we got married. So we knew that life. We got married after that life. Like, what's it going to change now? I know him so much better. You know what? We'd be grateful for the break, I'm sure. He might want a break from me. I'm not quite sure. No, it would be fine, because ultimately when I married him, I did not do it in hopes that he just existed alongside me to make my life better. I also took that commitment to make his life better. And we never knew, like, what was going to happen 7, 8 years down in the future. But I have always been flexible and open to this idea that just life looks different for everybody. And my commitment came with what I knew would be a lot of sacrifices, and so did his. And then if that means that he goes away and does a cruise ship contract for the first time because he wants to go and experience that and see what that looks like, then I will take those sacrifices, just like I have done for all the other things I've sacrificed in the last 7 years we've been married. It's just going to be that this time. And I'm more than happy to do it. He is more than happy to do it. So we're both very glad we finally got that out, because I think both of us have been maybe holding ourselves back out of respect for the other, that we thought that was what they would want. But yeah. I mean, I always kind of knew Steve wouldn't mind if I went on another contract. But I also was stopping myself from thinking that, because again, I thought, well, how could I expect that? I can't even keep myself, like, fully employed here. Like, I can't even really bank on a job 5 minutes from my house. How could I really bank on a job, you know, from my old life? But I can. Absolutely I can. I have the same skills. I'm the same person I was. So I actually think I'm probably a better performer now than I was. Who is calling? Sorry, let me say no to that. Anyway, those are my feelings. Those are my thoughts. I've unpacked them a little bit. Can you see how, I mean, it's not an open wound. I'm not, like, sad about this or anything. I was more frustrated to realize that I was, you know, my brain was making these decisions for me that I didn't really want it to make. I think my brain was holding me back a bit for different reasons, and I'm just happy now that at least it's out in the open, it's out in the air, and I can stop myself. And if you find me putting myself back into that little box, then, you know, you can call me out for it. I'll have some accountability buddies, I guess. But I don't know what I deserve. I don't know what anyone deserves. But I know what I want. And I think everyone has wants and desires, and we can't really help it. And I want for the most exciting and stimulating and enjoyable, fun, challenging experiences with dance, with my business here, with my marriage. That's what I want. And so if I am getting in the way of that, I also want to know that I can get myself out of my own way, and that I am in control of that. I can make those changes, and they're not difficult, they're not hard. They're actually just stop, take a minute, unpack that, get rid of it. It's like a layer of human garbage over what I really want under here, and what is actually good and what I should actually be doing. And I just need to clear the garbage off, and then I am good to go again. Maybe it just stacks up. Maybe over time we just need to, you know, clean out, like a bit of spring cleaning for your soul. But that's where I'm at. I'm having lots of feelings about it because some of it is sad. I will say, I think a part of me does grieve. I think a part of me grieves that I was never that type of person before, and that I grieve the experiences that led me to becoming that way. And I am mad that that happened, and I think it's okay to be angry about situations, but I'm also more interested in just moving beyond it, and quickly, like immediately, like now. I mean, I already have, so I'm kind of chatting to you about it. But yeah, who knows what it'll be. It could all be exactly the same. I could just do the same year I was going to have either way, but just me clearing my head about that and being okay with where I'm at mentally will just give me a completely different perspective on it all. And that is also really important too. I really do need to feel like these things are my choice, and that they're my choice to be happy and excited, that I am making that choice, and that I feel, you know, valued and respected wherever I go. And I mean, it's going to be great. It's going to be great now. I fixed it all. I fixed my life. All right. Have a lovely day, everyone. I'm going to go play with my hair in the mirror, see what else it can do. I feel like I wanted it a little bit longer here, but he does do a really good job, so I won't complain. Did I want it longer? I don't know. Oh, do you know what it is? It's conditioner. There's conditioner in my hair. That's why it doesn't look what it usually looks like. What is this curl, honey? Ooh. Okay. No, I do like it, actually. This is what I wanted. All right. See you later. Have a great day. Mermay Day 14. 2 weeks. You made it. If you're doing it. If you're not, happy 2-week anniversary of me doing it. See you. Bye.